Grand Rising, this is Self-Expression by Aja. I'm finally getting to the video on being an empath. I just want to speak to the heart, from the heart. And sometimes when I do that, I kind of go off on different places. So I wanted to do two things before I got started. One, I wanted to acknowledge my beautiful sister, whose name is Dr. Joy Majors. And she also is an empath. I took her course. She has a series of videos on tools for the sensitive and helping empaths, and I'm going to leave a link in the box to her her Facebook, her YouTube, and anyone who is struggling with understanding this gift / curse, I would highly, highly recommend her. She is someone I have used. She is my go-to person. She is the one person that I know can relate to me and get it without me just, I can just be in a balanced place in dealing with her. And then also, this book was recommended to me later. The Empath Survival Guide by Judith Orloff. She is also an empath and she is a doctor. I don't want to go too much into it, but Dr. Joy is doing some really great work. Maybe I'll do another video about that later, another time, to just kind of support and endorse her. But I wanted to know the experience that I had with her. So she's the one who helped me. So one, I did not become aware I was an empath until I want to say 2014 or 15. I could be off with that, but I just know it was after my head injury. And that is because after my head injury, it was like everything magnified times 100 or more, as far as me just knowing and understanding and being sensitive to things. Well, what does that have to do with anything? Because being an empath means I'm highly sensitive. A lot of people take sensitive to mean as a weakness, like I'm so sensitive, like I can't handle anything. And it's actually quite the opposite. I can handle more than the average person. I actually carried other people's emotions, feelings. I pick up things from objects, just whatever I'm around, which explained to me why I was so moody, why I could be in pain, why I had such a hard time going outside, being around other people. Now keep in mind, I was a workaholic. I've worked 3 jobs, and at one time for a period of years, and I just had this burst of energy, and not knowing that, and being around church and being around ministry people all the time, or being around basketball, basically wherever I am, I can feel. And at that time, since I had so much, that's another thing, I was a traumatized empath. So I'm just talking about my experience because this is about me. Could I go into more detail about these things? And yes, I'm just not sure that's where I want to go with this right now, because I got a lot going on that I'm working to improve myself. If you've been watching me, everything is about me because I have given so much. I am a natural healer. So anytime anybody's around me, you're going to heal. You're going to learn something. You have no choice. That's just the way I work. Now, what I have been working on and researching myself is trying to manage this better. Because from what I understand, I have a hard time filtering out these things. That's why I'm working on relaxing, taking deep breaths, meditating. That is why I stay to myself. I stay around plants. And just like I pick up the good, I also pick up the bad. So if I'm around people that are joyous and happy and sincere, then I'm that, okay? And so I Some of you call me controlling. I now call it me protecting my space. So when you have a nasty attitude, or when you have some type of feelings towards me, I feel all that and I know all that. Now, as a Christian, when I was practicing Christianity, I resisted and repressed all of that because the word said I was supposed to do this. I wasn't supposed to slap the person back, or I wasn't supposed to retaliate, or when an injustice was done to me, or when someone lied on me and I was getting reprimanded for something that I didn't even have anything to do with. I understand it a little bit better now. It's because I'm taking it so that other person can heal. Okay, well, I'm going to be charging for that in the future. Okay, so that's that's between you and I. In other words, whatever we decide, that can be bartering. We can trade. It doesn't necessarily have to be monetary, or the legal tender that the United States government owns. And that's why I choose to deal with people who has something to offer, because I know I have something to offer, but then what am I going to gain? And that's just order to keep the balance. And what is wrong with rewarding someone for a service or that they gifted you with? So I now know how valuable I am. I now know how my worth. I have a very, very powerful gift. I also know how to manifest things. I can do things. However, one of my challenges since I've hit my head, something is different. And I cannot control it. So since I cannot control it, meaning whenever I feel something or whenever it's there, I either gotta deal with it, move through it, end it. I have to do something. And that's what joy taught me, how to move from a situation that I didn't want to be in. And Dr. Orloff goes into just, it's great to have two doctors who understand this, to be able to explain it to me. So these two people, Dr. Joy Majors and Dr. Orloff, are the ones who helped me personally get through this. But so prior to meeting them and being an empath, I was extremely taken advantage of, extremely. So, and then coming up in a path of abuse and oppression, and not blaming anyone, just the way the system was designed. I understand that, I come from ancestors of slave masters, slave owners, and slaves. So I feel all that in my ancestry. So I understand. I don't necessarily direct it at, my ancestors. I know where it comes from, and I know what it's about, which is why I don't take it out on the people who did those things to me, because they were in a vibration to just do me harm. And also in being an empath, because it was really out of control. Mine leaned more towards fixing whatever was wrong. So if you had a problem, I was going to solve it, because I felt your pain. I felt it, so I wanted to make it better by doing my part. I still have that right now, but right now I'm choosing to do it with videos, because I know, like I said, I'm not the only one. So if any of you are relating to this, there was a reason behind it. But can you imagine going 40-something years and not even knowing you were a sensitive person, and going to work and I pushed. I just kept going, regardless of. And the other thing that happened is sometimes I couldn't even distinguish what were truly my feelings versus what I was carrying someone else's. Like feeling sick all the time and then going to the doctor and nothing is wrong. Literally, or walking in a store, or walking past somebody and all of a sudden feel a severe pain, not understanding that I am feeling their pain. Or just like when somebody is talking to me with their words, I can actually hear or know what they're really saying in their spirit, what they really want. Oh, they need some money. Oh, they need a place to stay. Now, as a former minister, I didn't mind those things. Again, as some of you know, I loved serving. But what I did not like is once I woke up is I was understood how people were using me and taking advantage of me, and also how were disrespectful and all kind of passive aggressive behavior. Because another thing about an empath, I process everything, no matter how long it takes. So for some of you, you may not understand. I may have gotten beat up in a fight at 27, but I could still be learning lessons from that today and this moment as I process things as I happen. So that's why I try to stay to myself and stay in the consecration, so I can focus on what I need to focus on to heal and make myself better. So I'll really know how far do I have to go, like how much of this pain is mine. Now a lot of it is, and I just can only deal with so much. That's just me. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. Doesn't mean that you've done anything to me. Sometimes I'm feeling your stuff and I don't want to deal with it. And of course, we know that the Black community and the church community has suffered. And so, again, I'm about healing. And I know some of you have had to adjust to the changes because of in other words, my program was disrupted. Now, I always believe there's a solution. I always believe that I can manage this a little better. Well, in managing this a little better, I had to balance some things out with speaking up, which is why some of you are hearing languages that just makes you cringe because you're not because you're not used to it, but for me, it helps me. You know, pressing something for 40 something years is not unhealthy, which is why my body was in such pain. I had to release that. So basically, so some of you that I'm speaking to, and you're not used to me speaking to this way, I'm speaking to you this way so you, one, will hear and understand. Your lesson is stop. Don't do that to me. Now, you always run into the right person when you run into me, because I mean you no harm. Okay, and then I also was a person who would take the harm. I would turn the other cheek. Now I understand as I age, as I, my physical abilities aren't the same as, we know the process. I have to make my energy work for me all the time. And so instead of getting into confrontations with people, I just stay to myself because I can see it. But I battle with myself is, yes, can I help that person? But then I help everybody, which is why I always feel used and abused, because then at the end of the day, when I've used my energy to help you, I allowed you to stay here, I paid your bills, I came and picked you up, I took you groceries. I mean, I served. And then when it didn't come back to me, it really, really, really hurt bad. But I got through it. And people like Joy. So there was a few people that was very instrumental in me getting back on my path. And these two doctors were two of them. And I just wanted to point that out. But yeah, and I'm glad to be making this video now, because if I would have made it earlier, it would have been all crying, depressed. I couldn't probably even get through it because I'd be feeling so many things. And so now I know how to, and I still have much to learn. I know how to get myself back on track. It's just like when some of you might say, "Oh, she's possessed with a demon." She wouldn't say that. No, well, right now I'm not carrying nobody's stuff, except for I am trying to be a solution and to give people options for what is about to happen in the fake matrix. And because they're going to be getting ready to be a lot of changes. I mean, a lot of changes. And I am just trying to prepare for that. So, and of course, I have to focus on myself, because if I focus on other people, then I'll get pulled off into whatever they're working on. So I want to focus on the solution for me, because then if I have a solution for me, then I have the solution for you. And again, let me just make sure I'm looking at my notes. Oh, so what did Joy help me do? Her and an advocate named Kim. So I'm going to say Kim and Joy. Joy helped me to stabilize and ground myself after the doctor had medicated me to stabilize and kind of my doctor was working on stabilizing my mood because my mood was all over the place. But then I was dealing as a former minister, you deal with all kind of people, with all kind of stresses. And then I was also working with children. And so I was carrying that weight. And then I was helping a family member. And then anybody else who needed help. Okay, so for those of you who wonder, why do I live in this place of this size by myself? Because there's only about 4 people that can deal with me, meaning they understand me and they can respect my boundaries, that dropping a spoon on the floor hurts my ear. That's how sensitive I am. I hear it. I hear the vibration. I have to deal with it. And while you are whatever, I'm still dealing with it, depending on how loud it is, maybe seconds, 30 seconds, 50 something seconds of it still resonating. Or someone says something nasty to me and have to process that that's not mine, that's theirs. And one of the things that, one of the tools that Dr. Joy gave me, and I'm not going to show it because it's her work and I want her to show it in her video, and I put the link, you can check it out, it's talking about moving energy. And one of the things she helped me understand is all is energy. She's the one who got me on that. All is energy. She was a part of my journey and me researching and me trying to confirm some things that I knew, but I didn't have any proof, or I had not been told these things. So how do I know? And it's like, well, is that reading people's mind? Is that an extra gift? I mean, like, what is that? And, you know, in a minister, as a former minister, I guess that's what people would call me, having the gift of discernment. But I believe I have all the gifts, all 9 of the gifts in Corinthians. I have all 9 of them. And I believe we all have them, but again, we don't know how to activate them. So now I'm in a spot where I was talking to my, most of you know my Aunt Helen and I are very close, and however, we have the same spirit, but we're on different levels with respect to understanding some things, which is fine. And what's beautiful about us, even though she, uses and believes in words that I no longer know, that are no longer work that way, we still are able to communicate in a loving way. I forgot what I was going with that. What the point I was trying to make. So that's one of the, I know I wanted to use her as an example because of her spirit being so poor. So Joy says when you're interacting with someone and you feel something, 80% of it is someone else's. Only 20% of it is mine. So I can relate to my aunt and we can talk. But because her spirit is so pure, when we disagree, there is no animosity. Because like I told you, even when I was ministering and people didn't believe, because I always felt like, sometimes I felt like, well, what right do I have anyway to be making a suggestion to them? I don't know their tribe. I don't know their lineage. I don't know where they came from. I don't know what their situation is. I really don't know what they need. Well, meaning I did, but I had problems with boundaries. And then it was like, well, how do I know that? But then the logical side of me, well, that's not your place. So I do a lot better at ignoring things. For instance, I saw this homeless couple. Anyway, prior to the virus, I would have, went and given them water, made them sandwiches. I would have done stuff like that, fulfilling a need. But I understand that right now I can't do that. And there's so much going on out there. It's like I feel some of the hostility, I feel the tension, which is why I don't want to go out there, because then I don't want to react and get in any trouble. So I think I'm going to cut it at that. okay, this is my quick video on being an empath.